All right, guys. So let's get into it. This, just like the title said, these are my thoughts on Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. I don't have any opinion about Brazil as a whole. I don't have any opinion about other cities in Brazil. Only Rio, and only for 2 weeks, and only for the Copacabana, Ipanema area. That's all I'm going to give you my thoughts on. I have no other thoughts or have an opinion on any parts of Brazil, only in those two areas. So let's go. Now keep in mind, I was only there for a couple weeks, so I wasn't there super long, but I think I was there long enough to give you, to form an opinion on, what I saw and what I felt while I was there. So let's get right into it. I'm going to give you some B-roll so you won't be bored looking at me for the next, so many minutes of my sharing my thoughts. So let's get into it. All right, let's talk about one of the reasons why it kind of took me a while to go there. Safety concerns. Now I know you're thinking to yourself like, okay, you go to Medellin, you go to Cartagena, you go to Bogota, all those cities, are known to have, some safety concerns. That is true, but in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I don't think the safety concern is as random as in others, as it is in Brazil. In other words, most of the incident that I've heard of, not all, obviously, there's a lot of situations where people are just doing innocent things, but most of the situations that I've heard of in, places in Colombia, people have put themselves in a predicament that make them more, prone to crime. That's just my opinion. Again, I don't want to just say that's for everywhere, but where the stuff that I've heard about Rio or Brazil in general, but definitely Rio, it seemed like you don't have to put yourself in any, compromised position for crime. It seemed like you can be anywhere. And, I've heard stories of crime being an issue just walking down the streets or walking on the beach, even with tourists right there. So I was kind of concerned about that before I got there. But once I got there and took the basic safety precaution that I always take when I go to any city, I didn't feel any of it. I mean, I was surprised. I was shocked. I didn't see any of it. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel like I was under any threat. It felt like any other tourist season. And to be honest with you, and I keep in mind, I was only in Rio, and I pretty much stuck to the tourist area of Copacabana and Ipanema. So, but while I was there during the day and night. I never felt any safety concerns. I mean, if you watch some of my videos, I walked quite a lot of places. Now, keep in mind, I stuck to the same areas. I didn't, go beyond those areas. But then again, the stories I've heard about incident in those areas. So I was concerned even about those areas that are considered safe, or that should be safe, where the tourists. But I had no concern at all once I was there for a day or so. So I was really happy that it was no really safety concern once I got there. I didn't let my guard down. I kept it guarded, but I think after the first day or two, I was able to lower my guard a lot, based on what I felt, from just my first reaction from being there. So safety was not as much of a concern as I thought it would be once I got there. Again, the whole point of just going there for a couple of weeks, I want to really test it out, because my intent, based off this 2 weeks, is to decide whether or not I want to go back or not. So anyway, so that was the first one, safety concern. The next thing, the next thought is the breathtaking coastline of the Copacabana and Ipanema beach area. I was simply amazed on how beautiful it was once I got there. I've been to quite a few places around the world, and I've seen images of places online or in video of places before I got to these places. And I'm not totally disappointed, but I'm always somewhat disappointed because they never look like whatever I see online. But Rio, at least Copacabana area, oh my God, I don't even think the videos or pictures do the justice of how beautiful the coastline. It is stunning. I mean, it is stunning, it is stunning, it is stunning, especially in person. So the breathtaking coastline is just amazing to me. The next thing is the super friendly and sociable locals. Now, granted, they only speak Portuguese. They don't speak English, and they rarely don't speak Spanish. So, yeah, even though it's kind of a tourist hotspot, most of the people I encounter don't speak English at all. You know, I might have met a couple here and there, but for the most part, no one speaks English, not even a little bit. So, but they were, what little communication I had with them, I always felt they were very friendly. I didn't feel like they, when I, couldn't speak the local language, I didn't feel like any hostility towards me or anything like that. So I was impressed with how super friendly and sociable the people were, no matter where I went, even if it's the local fast food or the store, the pharmacy, or anything. People were really sociable and super friendly. The next thing is one of the few tourist items that I visited outside of the Copacabana area is now I have to admit, the Christ Redeemer looks actually more interesting afar than in person. Now, I actually thought it was going to be, once I got there and did a tour of it, I'll be honest with you, I really thought there was going to be this huge self-imposed figure once you got there. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty tall and pretty big, and, it is impressive once you get there, but I'll be honest with you, once I got there, I thought I was going to look at it and say, oh my God, this thing is huge. And once I got there and saw it, I'm not going to say I was unimpressed, but I was just I was kind of underwhelmed about what I saw once I got there. Again, it looks more impressive from a distance. So, again, I'm talking about the Christ Redeemer. The next thing is the acai, which is pretty much the local fruit, local fruit that they create some type of juice or berry or some type of, ice cream with it. I had it for the first time. I didn't really understand all the hype. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was, I was just happy it wasn't super sweet, at least the ice cream version. But it was okay. I mean, I only had it once. I mean, it wasn't enough that I've heard people talk about being addicted to it. I did not find myself addicted to it. Like I said, I had it once. I mean, you can get it in and everywhere. I had it once and, just kind of like, okay, I've tried it. Not impressed. No big deal. It was okay. Would I eat it again? Of course. But again, out of the 2 weeks I was there, I didn't really find myself wanting it again. The next thing, prices of food and accommodation. Again, I was there during what they call the winter time. So, which is kind of the low season, July time frame. And I mean, I don't know if prices are different at different times of the year, but I didn't really find the foods or anything expensive than any other places I've been. I mean, all the places I've been since I've been traveling over the last year, Panama City is still pretty much the highest, in my opinion. I'm talking about when you go in grocery stores and places like that. But I didn't really find food or just buying basic things in grocery stores or to be no more expensive than other cities I've been in. Now, keep in mind, Medellin is an anomaly to me. Medellin just cheap compared to anywhere I've been. Medellin just cheap. So, but if you go to like Cartagena or Bogota or I don't know, Mexico City, I didn't find the prices to be no more expensive than those places. You know what I mean? For the dollar. Now, maybe the dollar is strong now. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I mean, I have this gauge that I use when I go to places. If I decide to eat in a fast food place like McDonald's, and And whenever I buy a normal, typical combo meal, normally whenever you eat an international restaurant like McDonald's, it tend to be more expensive, for the locals than anywhere else. But from my perspective, once I converted the dollar, I didn't really find it no more expensive than the U.S. In fact, a regular combo meal, like if it was a Big Mac combo, it's no more than about $6, which is still cheaper than what you would pay in the U.S. So, and everything else, a regular local restaurant was cheaper than that. So, it didn't seem very expensive to me. And of course, I stayed in the Airbnb, so Airbnb, I mean, it was reasonably priced to be close to the beach, close to all the tourist locations. I mean, for a couple weeks, I think I paid maybe, a little over $200. Not bad for a room that had everything. It wasn't no fancy room, but, a lot of time, location, you're just going to pay just for the location. And I did not find it really totally expensive. So, I was kind of impressed with that. One other thought that I have is about the skies of the area during the day. Now, fortunate for me, it was pretty much clear quite a few days while I was there. And I have to admit, I've heard stories, but I mean, it wasn't too recent that I've learned about this. I have never seen the most bluest skies I've ever seen in my whole life. I mean, I'm not talking about going to other countries where it's clear skies. This is blue. I mean, like deep, dark blue. I've seen videos of blue skies, but I always thought that a lot of it was color corrected in the videos. But the skies are just that blue. When you catch it on a beautiful, clear day, the skies are super, super blue. Yeah. Which brings me back to the weather. I was there, during what they call the wintertime, which to me seemed like the perfect time to go. I don't know why people always go, when it's super, super hot. But then again, if you go to Brazil from the and you coming from the U.S., then you tend to go during the wintertime anyway to get away from the, from the heat. So I guess I understand. Get away from the cold, excuse me. So I understand why people will go during the wintertime if you're from Europe or from the United States, because, during the American wintertime, why you would go during, November, December, January, which is the summertime there, because, it's tending to be cold. But to me, I've seen videos of people not wanting to go from place to place because it's so extremely hot during the daytime. I was out all day, every day. The weather was perfect. It was 75. It was warm. As you can see in a lot of my videos, people still wearing bathing suits, shorts. And even I wore shorts. I didn't wear bathing suit, but I wore shorts. And normally in spring weather, I'm not a big shorts person, but it was still nice enough for shorts. And I didn't feel like, that, okay, I need to wear long pants because this is only spring weather. It was really great during that time of the year. So, yeah, the weather was perfect. The weather was perfect. So if you decide to go, you may want to consider going during the wintertime. No rain. I think it rained one day out of the 2 weeks I was there. But all the other days, it was mostly sunny and mostly clear. Hardly any clouds on most of the days I was there. The other thought is the area outside of Rio. Now, granted, I arrived there at nighttime and I left at nighttime. I have to admit, it did look kind of eerie driving, me taking the Uber from the, from the Copacabana area out to the airport. Those are little town areas. I'm not sure what the name of the areas are, but they just seem dark, like there's a power outage. I mean, it just didn't seem like it was well lit outside of that area once especially on the way to the airport. So I don't know how the rest of the city looks, the rest of the country looks. But that just looked like an area you just didn't want to hang out if you weren't in Rio. It just seemed to be dark and just only a few lights here and there. It just seemed like there was a power outage and only a few lights are working. I just didn't, feel really comfortable, on my drive from the city to the airport at night time. So anyway, the next thing, beggars and people, homeless people, beggars on the street. Now, one thing I noticed that I don't think I've noticed any other cities that I've been into. Well, Colombia a little bit, but used to be that a lot of the beggars, if you inside McDonald's or if you inside of a store, I mean, if you sit on the street, they may beg. I mean, if you're in Colombia and you sitting, on the outside, and the beggars walk, they may try to approach you and ask for money. But most of them, they wouldn't really come inside the store, not too often. Not in, at least not in Copacabana area, not in Rio. Oh my gosh. I mean, you be sitting deep inside the store and they will come in and inside the store and, ask for, something inside the store. So I thought that was different and strange. And of course, it seemed like no one would say anything to them. So it's almost like it's okay. You know what I mean? They don't discourage it. You don't see any reaction from the owners of the shop or anything. And it's almost common that they do that. So anyway, I thought that was different and strange. And also, I mean, just like the homeless people that I did see was no different than any other cities I visited, including the U.S. I think this probably was the first place I ever seen where I would see, like, when I go work out in the morning, I would see whole families sleeping out on the street. I was, in the other city I visited, I've seen people, sleeping out on the street. I mean, not saying that's good or bad. It's just the way it is. People who have nowhere to go. But I think this was the first place I ever saw people actually sleeping out. Whole families, sleeping out on the street. I just remember one morning while I walked out, I saw a mother and two little boys, sleeping out on the street, under the blanket. Like, wow, that was kind of touching, And I didn't have anything on me. I probably would have shared something with them, on my way back. But they were gone by the time I got back from my run, and I didn't have any change or anything on me. But it was just kind of heartbreaking to see that. And lastly, let's talk about the women. Let's see. I usually don't make these type of video where I'm focusing on the women in sense about beauty. I mean, and that type of thing in these cities I visit. I mean, there are beautiful women every city that I've been in, and I don't think Rio is no different. But I think Rio is different because, I mean, a lot of time, from the perception that you get from a lot of people who visit from their videos, that there are beautiful women just everywhere. I mean, no matter where you walk or where you go. That is definitely not the case. There are beautiful women here, and when you see them, they are gorgeous, beautiful women. But they're not just everywhere. I mean, if you can look through my videos and notice that. I mean, they're nice-looking women, and that's just, regular women. I mean, but they're just nothing that I would think no different than any other city I've visited. Again, don't get me wrong. When you see them, you see them. But they're not just everywhere. You don't find yourself breaking your neck because you see them everywhere. Like, not in my opinion, at least not in this area. Maybe in other areas, maybe if I go into other neighborhoods, I will see that, but I didn't really see that in this particular city. Now, don't get me wrong, there are beautiful women here, but they're not just everywhere as soon as you get off the plane. I mean, in fact, you don't see a lot of them until you just, let me just leave that one before I get myself in trouble with that one. But again, it's a beautiful city, really nice people. I had a wonderful time. I'm definitely coming back. Don't know when, but again, my visit was just to check it out for a couple weeks, and then just to see if I wanted to come back. I definitely want to explore more of this beautiful country, and I definitely will be back. So anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell, so I can share with you my further travels. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will definitely see you in the next one.